Right, so I just screen shared so you guys can have a look. Let me know if you guys can see this clearly. Like, is it too small for you guys to read, or is it good enough? Like, do you want me to zoom in? Can you guys read this okay? Hello? Can you guys read this okay? Can you guys read the text okay? Or is it too small? Okay.
It's
Thank
a
you for confirming. Okay. All right. So, how we're going to run this is going to be the same as previously. So, each person will get one page to read. Okay. Let's start probably with the first person that jumped in here. So, let's go with Kaiki first. So, Kaiki, you may read the first page. Okay, 1 second. Sorry. Go right ahead.
okay. Thank you, Kak. Uh, can I start?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
There was nothing that could have been done for Lord Sivas. He had died in his armchair while reading by the fire. Apparently, the death had been sudden. It surprised Jace more than the death itself, and he had not become a moribund.
Moribund.
Moribund. Was that a side effect of the poisonous remedy? Could its true purpose be in preventing the turning of plague that person into one of the animated, violent undead things that had overrun the capital when the plague was first introduced? From Jay's limited knowledge, Noxbrosia was known for slow deaths. Something in the remedy's makeup must have accelerated Lord Siva's death, and she wouldn't know what until she had a moment to use her alchemistry training and test the remedy. And if she discovered the remedy was intended to prevent the formation of moribund by killing its victims prematurely, then murder was wrong. But those creatures of death were horrific, and nothing stopped them except burning or beheading. Could she advise her own clients to take a remedy that promised a swift, clean death while there was any chance they could recover?
All right. Thank you, Kaiki. Next up we have Kaiha. So Kaiha, you may read from recovery until until box. Okay, until metal box. All right, go ahead.
Okay. Recovery from the plague was rare and seemingly at random. Men, women, and children were equally affected and just as equally died or lived. A smaller percentage turned into moribund, but any percent was enough. But killing people before one knew if they would live or turn or die. She couldn't condone it, wouldn't. She was getting into her head again. Jace sipped from a mug of lukewarm, heavily watered dainty. She drank chamomile. A soft blend was whispered rather than shouted, and left mostly nice words on Jace's tongue and lips, even if they were entirely nonsensical. They calmed her, and her thoughts eventually calmed as well, allowing her to make a plan. As soon as she heard of Lord Siva's death, she returned to his manor to examine him. The symptoms of the plague had come back in full force. His skin was entirely grey, his lungs had collapsed, and blood ran from the corners of his eyes. But had he died from the poison or from the plague? Since she didn't know who had made the remedy to ask them what their purpose was, she would have to sort out the ingredients and try to determine it herself. Jace donned her apron and climbed a makeshift stool to the top of a shelf in the back of the apothecary. She moved.
Mhm. Continue.
Chapter
Dusty.
2. Dusty, empty jars and boxes until she couldn't finally grasp at the black metal box.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, Kaiha. All right. Since we only have three people here, Kai Silmi, do you wanna give it a shot?
Yes, Kak.
All right. You can read from she until ooh
Ooh.
scraper.
Okay. All right. She made her way down and set the box on her work table in the center of the lantern that lit the area. The metal box gleamed darkly, seeming to watch Jace as she moved around the room gathering items. The last thing she set on the table was the blue bottle containing the remedy and that had killed Lord Sivas. Jay stared at the gathering of things on the table. It contained two of the most precious things she owned: a copper and glass alchemist distillery. Is that how to pronounce it?
Yeah.
Distillery set with all the necessary containers and piping, along with a bellows attachment. She supplied her empty stomach with some of the morning's cold porridge, swallowing words and their chill with each miserable bite. She had to eat to live, and she couldn't always avoid eating plants. She finished off with a slice of cheese before she assembled the alchemistry set. Crickets outside her window had fallen silent by the time she finished cleaning each piece and gathering every screw and piece of tubing in place. She ran plain water through the alchemistry set, checking that the elements still hit it and there were no holes to patch. There were, in fact, holes to patch, and she spent what felt like ages searching for the glue and patches she kept on hand for such a purpose. Finally, she uncorked the blue bottle and dripped some of the solutions into a bronze dish. It pulled innocently, waiting for her to test it, to change it. With a building sense of the thrill of discovery, Jace added the first element to test the solutions: heat. She lit the burner and turned it up slowly until the drop of solutions fizzled. She watched the reaction and noted the evaporation time. When the solution was gone, she turned the heat off and checked the bronze pan for residue. She found a strange powdery substance. She could move around the pan with a metal scraper.
All right. Excellent. Thank you, Kasilmi. Next up, back to Kaiki. So you may go from some until her debts.
Oh my god, you also good. Okay. Uh,
Some
some
kind of
kind
mineral.
of mineral,
Mhm.
cell, or bone. We assume we dip the bits of powder into a clean vial and proceeded with other tests. Portioning out small measure of the remedy Lord Sivas had given her, fully aware of how little she had to work with. Page of notes later, Jace leaned against the table and hung her head, her mind filled with pieces but no connections. The powder substance appeared to be bone, commonly used in folk remedies in smaller towns and villages. Not something expected to find at the center of the realm. Additionally, the remedy had changed color when she added an acidic solution.
When she had added an acidic solution.
Said added an acidic solution, indicating it was a base. She had made several observations, but none of them seemed to point to any one conclusion. It was if five different people of differing backgrounds had each brought an ingredient to put in this remedy, and many of the ingredients she had discerned seemed to
Mhm.
have no purpose at all except to possibly mislead her into drawing the wrong conclusion about whoever had made the remedy and for what purpose. Lord Sivas had said the remedy came from the palace, but what if the servant that had delivered it lied to him? From what Jace knew, Queen Lyra would not sanction a remedy that took away all chance for her subjects to recover, even if it did prevent the formation of the moribund. Jace needed to do more research on the properties of Noxbrosia and how
Mhm.
someone might have gotten hold of the rare poisonous plant, but she didn't have access in her cramped apothecary. The nearest library she knew of was in the Oakmist Woods, which was a several cycle walk, and she couldn't leave the capital city without express permission from the bailiff that handled her debts.
From the bailiff that handled her debts. Yes. Okay. Thank you, Kaiki. Oh, okay. So the next one would be Kaiha. So Kaiha, since this is too short, okay, I'm going to need you to read this along with the next page. Okay. So you have more to read. Okay. So you may go ahead and start.
Okay. Jace warmed a kettle of bone broth and poured herself a mug. She huddled in a chair, exhausted and upset that all of her efforts had led to nothing, just like the last 5 ages. Nothing but depth and depths. The front door of the shop rattled, and something banged on it, jerking Jace from the tide of emotions. She, she sloshed a bit of broth and her blues as she sat up, staring wide-eyed at the door and wondering who would call at such a late hour.
Okay. This word is blouse. Yeah. This is blouse.
Blah.
Yes.
Blouse.
Okay. Excellent. Let's move on to chapter 4. You may go ahead and read again, Kaiha.
Okay. The door at the front of the shop opened. Whoever had arrived ignored propriety and let themselves
Priority.
in. Priority.
Pro- and it's a bit difficult. It's propriety.
Propriety. I see.
Yeah.
Okay. The door at the front of the shop opened. Whoever had arrived ignored propriety and let themselves in. You couldn't wait 2 moments, Nels. Just snapped, coming around the counter and shelves that partially, partially obscured the front door from view. She held it when she saw the man who had entered was not a friend, as she assumed, but a bailiff of the realm, almost
Realm.
as if realm.
Mhm.
Realm?
Yes,
Is
realm.
that true? Realm. Okay. Almost as if she'd summoned him with her thoughts of leaving the capital. Sure, Dre. I didn't know this was a collection cycle. She stammered, changing direction to the counter where she stored her client ledgers and the money set aside for collection. Oh, it isn't, sir. It isn't, Sir Dre drawled. He ran a hand over his greased back hair and tucked on the short ponytail, tied at the end. This is a social call. Oh, Jess said. Her hand dropping, she gestured to the back room where the alchemy that was still set up. As you can see, I'm a bit busy for company.
Right, excellent. You sounded like AI at the end there. But thank you, Kaya. Great reading. Next up, back to Kak Silmi. And also, I just want to quickly welcome Kaisa. Welcome to the book club. I can't even English today. But yes, this is Kak Silmi's turn. So, Kak Silmi, you may read from Dre up until it resolved.
Okay. Dre glanced towards the back room with interest. Haven't seen that out for a while. You chasing remedies again, darling? Jay sighed. Something like that. You know, you could sell this place. It would pay off a chunk of your debt. Dre said, glancing at the ceiling and around the room. Jay shook her head, a knot tightening in her throat. Where would I live make my remedies? I couldn't work out of an apartment. What if you didn't have to work? Dre said, moving closer, rubbing his thin mustache and putting on a charming smile. All teeth and no warm. Jace looked at him confused. I have to work. You of all people know how much that. Your payment barely make a dent in your life debt, not to mention the interest. I have a propositions for you. Jace waited for him to continue, her fingers curling and uncurling at her sides, tension hanging in the air. Dre walked past her and leaned against the counter between the front room and the back. I heard the rumor mill discussing your argument with Lord Sivas right before his untimely death. He was the picture of health, they say. And the one argument with you and his dad. And then one argument with you and his dad. They Dre what? Dre
So it's like the
Dre.
that sound.
Okay, Dre.
Yeah, okay, just ignore it. Yeah.
Alright.
Keep it going.
Right. Such a shame. We didn't argue, we disagreed on his course of treatment is all. Jace licked her lips. Come now, Miss Jace. He refused to pay you, perhaps? Or offer favors instead of money? His grin was oilier than his hair, and Jace wanted to strike the expression from his face. She worked her She worked her jaw, clamping down hard on the desire. Dre wasn't the kind of person she could speculate to about the Nox Brosia remedy Lord Sifas had taken. She didn't trust him as far as she could throw him, even telling him about the so-called remedy before she had done more research could cause more trouble than it resolved.
All right, thank you, Kasumi. Great reading. And now we are, I think, Essa's turn. Yeah, so Essa, you may read from Dre, chuckled up until the shop.
Okay. The Dre. Okay. Dre, can you zoom it? It's too
Chuckled.
small. Can you
Oh,
zoom?
oh, oh, too small? Okay, wait.
Yeah, yeah,
There you go.
yeah, it's okay. Dre chuckled and straightened, stepping closer to her. Too close for comfort. Look, I know you didn't poison him. You don't have the spin for blood murder. But if the Thor overwhelmed common sense among the folks, or if his family wants to press charge, You're going to turn protection. You're going to need protection. That's what I come to talk to you about. Jess cocked her head and raised her eyebrows. Her eye, her eye, eyebrows. That's
Eyebrows.
thoughtful. Eyebrows. Oh yeah. That's thoughtful of you. You were you thinking of hosting a guard of speaking at the next council meeting? Ray showed all his teeth and rubbed his mustache again. No, how would either of those things benefit me? You've got to think harder, Jason. Jace, this would be a partnership with both of us getting things we want out of it. Jess crossed her arms. I don't have any more money to give you, Ray. She had a distinct feeling she was being backed into a corner by a predator. The most valuable thing you got is your pretty face. Ray knocked a finger under her chin, then leaned in, his face sliding next to hers until his mouth was next to her ear. Marry me, and I'll make sure no one else lays on a hand on my wife. You see, we both get what we want. Just ducked past him and brushed herself on the counter behind her. With all due respect, Sir Dre, I don't intend to marry at the moment. A fair remorse won't convince me to make a hasty decision about my future. Dre nodded. His demeanor, demeanor,
Mm-hmm.
deceptive,
Deceptively calm.
deceptive, okay, deceptively calm. He rested his hand on the pommel of the sword sticking from his belt, looking around the shop.
Okay.
Is it up?
Nice. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Kaisa. Back to Kaiki then. You can go from here up until alone.
You could keep doing your work, he said, gesturing around. Make your position, sell your remedies. I wouldn't keep you from it. You would inherit my debt, Jace reminded him, desperate to put him off. Ray frowned as if he hadn't thought of it. After a moment, he nodded. You're right, I would. But together we could pay it off in less than half the time it will take you alone. I make more than an apothecary. You could sell the place. Move in with me. Jace tilted her head and rubbed a hand across her forehead. Why do you want to marry me, Trey? There's no shortage of pretty women for you to focus your attention on. I'm sure you have half a dozen just waiting for you to make your attention known. Why would you want an orphan with no family? A woman with no prospects? A life debt that will sink you even further? Grey face changed, shifting from congenial, con-
Congenial.
congenial to
Mm-hmm.
dangerous in an instant. From Jay's perspective, the monster seemed to have come to life behind his eyes, and she suddenly knew why no woman had come forward to attempt the queen's bailiff. Gray gritted his teeth as he spoke, biting off each word and giving them a sharp edge. I have certain requirements of my life partner. I prefer a beautiful, intelligent, quiet woman. One who will bear me sons and daughter with magic abilities that will bring honor to my name and the crown. I could go on, but suffice to say,
Suffice to say.
suffice to say, fit all of my preferences and then some. Jace breathed in, growing strange from the familiar smell of the apothecary and all its dead plants. Gentle swashing of the florist's secret language seemed almost audible in the air, and it bolstered her, as if she weren't actually facing this monster of a man alone.
Okay. Thank you, Kaiki. Next up, Kaiha, you may go from here until wake.
I will consider your proposal, but I need a favor, Jay said quickly, breathlessly. Dre cracked up. Go on. I need to visit a library at the Dre Monastery. I'd just be gone a few cycles, approve my travel request, and when I get back, we can talk some more. Dre laughed, pacing. You know how easy it would be for you to give me the slip if I let you live here. I'm not so much a fool. He spun on a heel to face her, approaching her so quickly she couldn't move out of the way, and he grabbed her arms. Agree to marry me, and I'll take you anywhere you want, a library, the coast, the realm, across the sea. I'm not interested in marriage, Sir Dre, she said, wrenching herself from his arms and breathing hard. Dre, Dre Dre pursed his lips. Very well, I would have much preferred it if you had chosen the more amenable road, but you forced my hand. His eyes held a dangerous glint. I will give you 3 cycles to consider my proposal. In the meantime, I will reject any travel request you submit, and I will do nothing to stop the rumor mill concerning your implicated involvement with Lord Siva's death. Additionally, you should know that I have the power to call your life debt due whenever I want. We both know I'm your best, if not only prospect. Don't make this harder, and then it needs to be, Chase. He turned on his heel, not waiting for her response. The wooden door slammed in his wake.
All right, excellent. Thank you. And next we have Kak Silmi. You can read from Jay's psych up until for her. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, Jace sank to the floor and leaned against the wall beneath the counter. She dug the tips of her finger into her eyes. If she didn't get convicted for Lord Siva's death and Dre made good on his threats, any future she could imagine for herself would be lost. Spent in prisons or sent off to the Havern mines. She hated that she considered agreeing to his proposal even for a moment. The first thing Jace did was make herself a cup of chamomile tea to calm her nerves. She needed to think clearly to come up with a plan. She wished she had someone to talk to, but this late, most folk were headed to bed, and she wasn't certain who she could call on even if it weren't after nightfall. A moment after she sat, a second knock sounded at the door. She jerked, spilling the warm tea on herself. It soaked into the front of her shirt on top of the both stain from before, and the plan whispered to her. I am just sleep. I make one beautiful. I am a beautiful flower. Why shouldn't I impart beauty? You are just a flower, Jace muttered, a weed almost. She breathed through the brief coldness spreading across her skin that accompanied plant speech. That plants regu- regurgitated
Yes, regurgitated.
regurg- regurgitated the final
Yes.
words they had spoken in life. The dry chamomile flower heads had a sort of vanity about them that Jace in her damp and frustrated state found incredibly annoying. Just a moment. She called to who? Just a moment, she called to whomever had knocked. She dabbed at the wet spot spreading on her front. She stared toward the front of the apothecary, terrified to answer the door. Every time she opened it lately, more bad news arrived. At this point, she expected the Reaper himself to be waiting for her.
Okay. Oh, this one, by the way, I forgot. It's actually regurgitated. Yeah, regurgitated. But yeah, okay. All right. Next up, Ka SI. You can go from Jace Snells, let me in up until detention.
Jace. Okay. Jace, it's Nels. Let me in. Jace flew to the door. She fumbled with, I said, fumbled, fumbled. She fumbled with the latches, but eventually got them all to throw open the door. Out of breath and tears already freaking her eyes. She leaned into Nels in without a word, and he made a surprise on, then wrapped his arms around her without saying anything. After a moment, he pulled away and led him into the apothecary. Nels looked around the pillar where Jess projectile strewn across her work table, but he didn't ask about it. Instead, he leaned against the corner and waited. "Did you hear about Lord Shivers?" she asked. Ness looked shocked. "One of your clients?" "No. What happened?" Jess relayed the event of the cycle before. They didn't have to leave anything about Lord Shiva's death, and someone has decided to use his death to get something they want. He bit her lip at the last part. He hadn't intended to tell him about Sherdray. Someone is blackmailing you? Nels asked. She shook her head. You know what? Don't worry about it. I'm sure I can handle. No, you can't. Not something this big. Let me guess. It was that off tray. I've always thought there was something piggish about the way he looked at you. Nels' hand tightened, tightened into fist. Leave it, Nels. I know what you're thinking. You can read minds? No. His eyebrow raised. Just laugh, breaking through some of the tension.
All right. Thank you,
You're
guys.
right.
Okay. So next we have Kaiki. Kaiki, you can go from tell me honestly until, of course, the end of the page. Go ahead.
Tell me honestly, Jace, you want me to leave it alone? Because I will. But if you're lying because you have this delusion that you can handle it yourself, I swallow. I care about you. His voice and eyes soften even more. I'm not trying to leave you out of it on purpose. I just don't know what you can do about the situation. He's threatening to either let the rumors get me convicted of Lord Siva's death or call my life debt too. He'll put me in prison or the mines. What could he possibly want in return? Don't have money? Nels coughed. Sorry. He added quickly. He wants to marry me. Jace closed her eyes to Nels. Shocked, shocked expression, rubbing her brow and wishing her budding headache would vanish on its own. She had some mountain mint ointment that would help. She headed for her workroom, grabbed the ointment jar off her counter, and unscrewed the lid. Nels followed, ranting, "Marry you? He's blackmailing you, so you will marry him. I mean, I get where he's coming from. I marry you in an instant, but I wouldn't." He trailed off, pausing as he realized what he just said. He ran, where is that? He,
He ran a hand through his hair.
he ran a hand through his hair, glancing anywhere but at her. Jace finished with the ointment, replaced it on the counter, and breathed in the invigorating menthol scent. While trying to ignore the whisper of the men, perhaps he should have dealt with the headaches another way. "None of this is very helpful," Nels said. "No, it isn't." He snapped his fingers. "You have to go to the Queen. She will set it right. It's my word against Grace. He's not going to listen to some random apothecary, especially not one suspected in the recent death of a noble."
All right, excellent. Thank you. And next up, Kaiha from But You're Not Some Random Apothecary Until Apothecary.
But you're not some random apothecary, you're Jace Kinstone. After what you and your brother did to try to save the realm, Jace's vision tunneled, and Nell's voice grew distant. She grabbed the counter, feeling as if she might drift away without something solid to hold on to. Blinking rapidly and deepening her breath, she clung to the raw wood and the smell of mint until her mind cleared. She shook her head. "You all right?" Nels asked, his hand landing on her shoulder. Sorry, I okay. Wait. Something
Okay.
happens with my phone. Okay. Where is it? Where is it?
Okay.
Sorry.
Jay's
Ah,
shoulder. Yeah, shoulder.
okay.
Jay shook him off.
Jace shook him off. "I'm fine. It's just been a long cycle. I don't think going to the Queen will work, but I need permission to leave the capital. And Dre won't give it to me. Going straight to the source is my only hope. I'll join the petition line after I get through my rounds tomorrow. I bet if you drop your name with one of the guards at the gate, you'll jump to the front of the line," Nell said, looking at her with concern. "I don't have any of the power you seem to think I have," just insisted. That was a long time ago. Nell shifted his stance, putting his hands on his hips and glancing at the floor before looking up again and tossing his shaggy hair out of his face. "You could marry me instead. Put Daddy off that way." He looked so hopeful Jace had to bite back the laugh that bubbled up in his chest. "No way, I'm not asking you to save me, Nels. It wouldn't be a burden," he added. He raised his eyebrows in such a comical way that Jace gave in and laughed, and Nels joined her. As the laughter died down, Jace shook her head and sighed. She stared at the one person she'd managed to befriend through all these ages spent alone in the apothecary.
Yes, thank you, Kaiha. Next up, Kak Silmi. You may go ahead and read.
You're a far better option than he is, I'll grant you that. But Dre would just call in my life debt, and then we would both get sent to the mines. I would do it for you in an instant, Nels proclaimed with a bravado that Jason knew he didn't feel. "I'm asking you not to," she said, adding a bit of sternness to her expressions and her voice, and then seeing him wilt, she added, "Promise me you won't take this as a rejection." Nell strode forward. I promise. If you promise to find a way out of marrying Dre, I'll kidnap you if I have to. Stay to your dad, whatever it takes. Jace laughed through the tears that threatened and let a smile break through the sadness weighing down her heart. I think I can promise you that.
Hey, do you want to read more? Is that enough, Kasioni?
That's enough, it's okay, Kak.
Okay. All right, then. So we are now on to chapter 5. Wow. Okay. Okay, Elsa, it's your turn.
Okay. Jay stood in a short line of people at the bottom of the castle steps, waiting for an audience with the queen. He hopped from foot to foot, still and anxious that the sun was going down and the lion had hardly moved. They closed the doors at sundown so the queen could sing the evening song. If she didn't get in before then to tell the queen about Sir Dre's treats and the troubling poison-filled remedy cir- circling through the capital and presumably coming from the palace, she would have to find a moment tomorrow. Another day would increase the likelihood that Dre would catch her trying to report him, and the evening bell tolled, announcing the cycles and the queen walked out onto the balcony above, her blue and silver dress resplendent in the cycle's dying light. My people, she said in a low tone and carried across the square where the gate stood. I regret that I cannot visit with you this cycle. Perhaps tomorrow. For now, hear my song and find the rest in it.
Okay, thank you, Kaisa. All right. So now we are back to Kaiki. Go ahead.
She opened her mouth and sang a song that sounded both familiar and ancient. Through her frustration, Jace nearly wept at the relief brought on by the queen's magic voice. She wished she could but in the perfect tones, in the promise of rest that the notes provided. When the song ended and the queen returned to her palace, ornate doors closing behind her, some of the peace drained back out of Jace, and renewed determination replaced it. He marched up to the castle doors, but halted as the two guards standing lowered their spears. Preparations are finished for the cycle. Return tomorrow, one of them said. Voice more feminine than Jace expected. She knew there were females among the Queen's soldiers, but she had rarely met one. The, qu- the Queen must hear what I have to say. It's essential, Jace said, planting herself firmly and resisting the urge to shrink from the guards. Cold stares. She didn't want to say specifically what she had come for. If the remedy was known in the palace, it would not cause any harm. But if it wasn't, and there was a conspiracy, possibly even against the crown, she didn't want the rumors to come from her. The female guard lowered her spear but waved Jace off. We hear that every cycle miss, no offense, but it's rarely urgent as they make it out to be. Get in line in the morning, sleep on the cobblestones, you must. Unless unless you're personal friend of the queen. She won't be hearing you this cycle. Jace opened her mouth, then closed it. She couldn't claim any friendship, but could Nels be right? If she told the guards who she was, gave them her name, and reminded them of what she lost in service to the realm, would they let her in?
Okay, nice. Thank you, Kaiki. Next up, we have Kaiha. Go ahead and read.
The very thought of proving her identity and the memories attached to it made her heart feel light, and she swayed far enough to one side. The female guard reached out a hand as if you catch her. Miss, are you well? Should we fetch an apothecary? I am an apothecary, Jis murmured. Why had her vision blurred at the edge? Uh, why had why had the crowd stopped chattering? What's going on here? A deep male voice asked. It all rushed back at the sound of that voice, her heart racing, her brain telling her to run. Why should she run? Her vision cleared and sound crashed down on her as Sir Gray's face came into view. Uh, emotion, mm, emotion rushed through Jay's chest and into her head like a torrent. She blinked away tears and drew herself to her full height. Nothing, I'm fine, she insisted, her voice too loud. She spun on her heel and fled down the street, not caring, not caring that she made a spectacle of herself. Her eyes and lungs burned as she ran through uptown toward her shop in Midtown, and her mind raced faster than her feet. Had he seen her standing in line to meet with the Queen, if he'd assumed that she meant to report him, and he'd no doubt uh, had her off in the morning. He would either plant lies in the Queen's ear before Jace got to see her, or make sure Jace never made it to the Queen's presence. Uh, and what and what if Trey knew about the poisonous remedy? He knew Lord Cephas had died, but hadn't said he knew the man had taken the so-called miracle cure. What if marrying her was his way of protecting her from whoever was behind the cure? Could he be so benevolent? And who would the queen believe? A simple apothecary with nothing but a life debt and a family to her name, or one of the royal bailiffs that handled the real debtors.
All right, thank you, Kaiha. Next, Silmi. Go ahead.
Shadows replaced sunlight as the golden orb slipped lower in the sky, almost at the horizon. Jay slowed her footsteps to a walk as she reached the market between Upper Town and Midtown, hunching in on herself, feeling a chill despite the warm summer evening. She dodged groups of gossipers and shoppers, finishing their
Yes. Yes.
their wares, ignoring the last over cries of merchants trying to get rid of the more perishable items at the end of the cycle. As she turned to go around another cluster of shoppers, she caught a darting figure from the corner of her eye. She wouldn't normally have given it a second thought, but her skin pricked with fear. The vine hairs on her neck rose, and her gut twisted. She breathed in and out to calm herself, then turned slowly, scanning the thinning crowd in the street. But none of the faces caught her eye. She turned forward once more and quickened her pace, picking up her skirts to free her stride. The shadow flashed again a few blocks later, and Jace measured her steps and her breath, trying not to panic. She, she, could, she caught a glimpse of a clock face in her peripheral. Why would someone wear a cloak except to hide their face? She was being followed. With only 3 blocks to go and the streets growing more barren by the moment, Jace broke into a run, footsteps behind hers sped up as well, though they still sounded muffled, as if the person didn't want to draw attention to themselves. Fumbling with the key to the apothecary, Jace jammed the material into the doorknob and turned. Her breath hitched with desperate noise that could have been words if she would had more air, but cursing the doorknob didn't make it turn any faster, and she nearly caught her own skirt in the door as she slammed it shut behind her and locked it.
All right. Thank you, Kasilmi. Last but not least, Kaesa, go ahead. This will be the last one for tonight, guys. Kaesa, go ahead.
Which one?
She backed away
There.
slowly.
Oh, okay. She she backed away slowly, watching the door. Her gaze darted to the window on one side, expecting any moment a face would appear. Several shadows worked past, making her jump, but none approached. She had nearly relaxed when the door handle jiggled. Her breath froze, her entire body seizing. It could be Drake coming to check on her, or Nels, who she would welcome. But Nels would call out, letting her know it was him. Just back up against the counter that separated the front room from her workroom. The handle jiggled again, more violently this time, and then a form did appear before the window. Jace yelped and ducked under the counter, hiding in the shadows. Not soon the person on the other side of the glass could see her, but she hadn't washed that window in some months, and the glass had some grime on it from the street. She couldn't identify the onlooker, but they wouldn't be able to get a good look at her either. Jess licked her lips and begged the three to make the person leave, whoever it was. Long after Jess saw the shadowy form move away from her shop, she sat hunched in her corner, legs and back cramping. When she finally felt comfortable enough to move, her muscles and joints complained, and she moved in the back of the shop. She lit the small candle she had, afraid if the person come back and saw light on, they would comfort her. About what? The remedy? If whoever made it didn't want word getting out about what the remedy actually did. What they killed to keep her silent. Would they kill to keep her silent? Is
Yes.
that all?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, that's all. Thank you, Kaisa.
Thank
So we're going to stop here for now, guys, since it is time. Okay, but I will bookmark this. So yeah, I'm going to probably take a month off during Ramadan because it clashes with the praying time. So we're going to continue this probably after Eid. Okay. But if you guys want to hang out with me, during the day, I'm always on Discord. So yeah. Anyways, guys, thank you so much for coming today, Kak Esa, Kak Iki, Kak Iha, and also Kak Silmi. I hope to see you guys next time. Until then, have a great long weekend and happy Ramadan.
Thank you so much,
Yeah, thank
Kasara.
you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Kak